Hello and welcome to ARIRANG News. It's Thursday, October 6th here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I'm Han Daeun. We'll begin with Typhoon Chaba, which has left a larger trail of destruction than Korea had expected. Rescuers are working against the clock to find people still missing after the storm system swept through the southern part of the country yesterday, while recovery efforts continue to rebuild destroyed buildings, farms, and homes. The death toll has risen to 7 after 3 more bodies were recovered this morning. Lee Min-young brings us the latest.
The Korean peninsula is no longer under the direct influence of Typhoon Chaba, but the southern parts of Korea that were battered by the storm are still grappling with rescue and recovery operations. And more reports on the extent of the damage are still coming in. 3 casualties were reported in Busan. Among them is a construction worker who was killed after a crane toppled over, and an elderly woman who died after falling from the roof of her house. 3 casualties were reported in the nearby city of Ulsan, which was also slammed with torrential rain and powerful winds. The General Insurance Association of Korea reported Wednesday the typhoon caused more than $9 million in damages. More than 500 homes have been flooded and more than 1,600 vehicles submerged. Around 230,000 homes suffered power outages, and dozens of cultural properties were damaged. Almost 200 people from 90 households were forced to evacuate, and they are currently staying at local schools and community centers. Industrial plants were also affected by the typhoon. 2 Hyundai Motor plants in Ulsan and 20 other industrial facilities in the area were forced to suspend operations for a while due to the flooding. The storm, which has been downgraded to a tropical depression, is currently affecting parts of Japan. President Park Geun-hye has called for swift restoration measures to minimize the damage. The government also said it is considering designating the affected regions as special disaster areas. If so, local residents would be able to receive emergency relief and special administrative and financial support from the government. The city of Gyeongju was designated as a special disaster area following 2 powerful earthquakes that hit the region last month. Lee Min-young, ARIRANG News.
The opposition and ruling parties are feuding again, this time over the corruption allegations surrounding 2 foundations. During the ongoing parliamentary audit on Thursday, the ruling Saenuri Party revived its boycott of some parliamentary committees after opposition lawmakers wanted to call a new witness for questioning. The opposition is demanding to hear from Choi Soon-sil, a woman with personal ties to President Park Geun-hye, who was reportedly involved in the creation and management of both foundations. The controversy over the Mir and K Sports foundations was reignited by the recent news that the Federation of Korean Industries was seeking to disband the foundations and create a new one merging the 2. Seoul's top diplomat Byungse is in Brussels, where he and his EU counterpart have vowed to work together on all levels to end North Korea's nuclear program. That includes the implementation of existing UN Security Council sanctions, as well as possible independent measures targeting Pyongyang's nuclear capabilities. We get more on that from our Kwon So-ah.
South Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se and the European Union's Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini have agreed to enforce pressure on North Korea on the bilateral and multilateral fronts. The 2 diplomats met Wednesday on the sidelines of the Brussels Conference on Afghanistan for talks on the effective enhancement of cooperation to counter North Korea's latest nuclear and missile tests. They agreed that North Korea's 5th nuclear test conducted a month ago has highlighted the urgency of the nuclear issue more than at any point before. They pledged to work together in all possible respects, which includes cooperation on efforts to craft and implement even stronger UN Security Council sanctions than the ones in effect now. Minister Yoon expressed his appreciation for the EU's efforts regarding North Korea's provocations and asked for greater support through independent sanctions and diplomatic pressure. In return, Mogherini promised to consider more specific measures targeting Pyongyang's nuclear capabilities. Minister Yoon is expected to continue sending a strong message on the North Korea issue at a NATO meeting on Thursday. He will also hold talks with the organization's chief to discuss expanding cooperation on the international front. Kwon So-ah, ARIRANG News.
The UN Security Council has unanimously selected Antonio Guterres, the former Prime Minister of Portugal, as the next UN Secretary-General. All that remains now is a formal Security Council vote set for Thursday morning, local time. Oh Soo-young has this report.
Portugal's Antonio Guterres has received the strong backing of the UN Security Council in his bid to become the next Secretary-General. In a 6 closed-door ballot on Wednesday, Gutierrez gained 13 encourage votes, 4 of them from the 15-member council's permanent veto-wielding members, and just 2 no-opinion votes. The 67-year-old was the only candidate to top the required 9 encourage votes and received no discourage votes from any of the permanent members. The Russian ambassador to the United Nations, Vitaly Churkin, said Gutierrez was the clear favourite among all the candidates. Both the American and British ambassadors to the UN also welcomed the result. During the selection process, Gutierrez said the next UN chief must be a convener, a facilitator, an honest broker and a bridge builder. He also called for a surge in diplomacy for peace to prevent conflicts and crises rather than tackle their consequences. Gutierrez served as the former UN High Commissioner for Refugees from 2005 to 2015 and former Prime Minister of Portugal from 1995 to 2002. Gutierrez is set to face a formal council vote on Thursday morning and will then have his name submitted to the 193-member General Assembly for approval. Once confirmed, he will become the 9th UN chief, replacing the current Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon of South Korea, who steps down at the end of this year. Oh Soo-young, ARIRANG News.
And that's all from me. Stay tuned for top economic stories coming up on Business Daily.